Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to another episode of my F1 2021 My Team Career Mode. This is episode number 89 for the start of Season 6 of the Bahrain Grand Prix. If you guys did miss the pre-season video uploaded 2 days ago, that takes you through all the different storylines you need to know going to this season, including our massive change of look for this season, and our brand new teammate signing, and of course all the driver transfers for the AI teams, then please do check that one out before you see this one, because then you'll be a little bit less confused potentially going into this episode and the rest of the season. But you know, last season, season 5, was a titanic scrap between myself and George Russell, going right down to the last lap. But now, as ever in Formula 1, everything resets, everyone is back down to 0, and we go all over again for a 6th time on F1 2021. And we've got a very exciting new look grid. You know, so many big names that have featured in the seasons gone by, that have been big protagonists in our career mode series so far. They've moved teams for a new story entirely, a new challenge, and for very different reasons for some of them. And, well, we don't really know how it's going to go. Of course, at this stage of the career mode, of course, we've got nearly maxed out cars for pretty much every single team. And that means track to track, it's very mixed up. It's all about the drivers, more so than the car, really. And it means we really get some very interesting, very specific stories building, with certain drivers doing well and certain others not. We've got our biggest rival ever on this game, George Russell, alongside us in that new Golf racing look that helped fund his move to the team. We've got McLaren in the Vodafone McLaren Mercedes livery, Red Bull Porsche there behind as well, Norris and Sonoda, Giovinazzi and Schumacher. That is going to be exciting, but we're hoping we've weakened our rivals McLaren from last season by stealing away not only one of their star drivers, but also their main sponsor from last year. Williams in purple and grey now, with Hamilton and Guan Yu Zhou at the wheel. A new era for Williams, a new era for Lewis Hamilton, who's not been doing very well at all in this career mode. Maybe a potential villain arc for Ferrari in black and red now versus the white and red of last season. Sainz and Ocon at the wheel, with Ricciardo retiring. Then Leclerc moving away from our team, bit of a downward spiral. He'll be hoping to reset himself alongside his good friend in real life, Pierre Gasly at AlphaTauri, looking to mix it up once again with their more senior Red Bull team. BMW enter the sport again, with BMW Sauber now debuting here with Jack Aitken and Matsushita. A lot to build on, of course, still though, from where Alfa Romeo were. And of course, we've got the other teams like Mercedes, Verstappen and Bottas now. Bottas returning to the Silver Arrows. Could that be the signs of the times of the Silver Arrows returning to the top? Whatever the case, we've got a very exciting new season upon us, and it all starts here Saturday, qualifying at the Bahrain Grand Prix. And we've got obviously a very different looking car here. The very first time we've driven a My Team car with a matte paint finish. I must say, very peculiar. It's going to take some getting used to, and of course very different striking colours of Golf Racing, obviously the new sponsor that helped us fund that massive 70 million buy of George Russell. And that in itself is going to be very spicy. Of course, we are the reigning world champion now. We're a 2-time world champion in this universe on F1 2021, and it was a mighty old battle with George Russell, and now that man is alongside us in the same team. So will it, you know, we've seen in history in Formula 1, when you've got two massive titans like that in the same team, it sometimes doesn't go too well. So that's going to be a massive plot point, I think, for the whole season. But I'm also hoping myself and George can combine together and push each other in some healthy competition as well, to try and secure the Constructors' Championship, because of course we did not win that. McLaren are the reigning world champions in terms of the team standings, but they have definitely taken a bit of a hit there. Lando Norris not too highly focused going to this season. Yuki Tsunoda also losing some confidence there, and at the moment they're a little bit lower than I thought they would be in Q1, but of course Q1 is not too representative, but it's obviously good to show your hand a little bit in the first part of qualifying. One thing that hasn't changed this season, with all the changes to the driver market, is Lewis Hamilton not performing too well. Even in a Williams Jaguar with Guan Yu Zhou right up there in the top 10, Hamilton is knocked out once again in Q1. Very peculiar. We've had it this year and on last year's game. I just don't know what it is, because in some of your guys' career mode saves, you've shown me that Hamilton's still doing very well. So there's just something in my career mode save that just has relegated him to just being knocked out regularly and just losing all sense of confidence and speed he has in real life. And I've said it before, I'm still surprised he's actually even on the grid yet, and he's not retired like, you know, the likes of Ricardo, for example, last year. So Q2 now, this is hopefully our one and only flying lap to get through, and this is going to be a bit more of a representative time of, you know, where everyone is in the order, and it looks like Ferrari, well, knock on wood, look good. Again, though, they did this last year. They looked so good on Saturdays, and they were nowhere on Sunday, and one of the McLarens is knocked out. Tsunoda is out of Q2, as well as Bottas. It is back in Mercedes. He's knocked out. Verstappen makes it through, and also Leclerc, for his debut in AlphaTauri, is through, and Gasly is not. So we've got some, you know, some surprising knockouts there. I thought, you know, Gasly would have made it through in the AlphaTauri, and also Tsunoda, you know, he was beating Gasly in the AlphaTauri last year. So clearly, you know, the times have changed, and so has people's confidences and focuses maybe in terms of how they're performing. And remember, that focus is so important of getting the maximum out of the actual number overall stats in the game. But as I just alluded to, you know, Ferrari looking quick, but they look quick so many times last season. So I'm really not reading too much into it. And Bahrain, obviously, we know the race is also going to be so you know, tricky to really deduce who's quickest, because Bahrain, the strategies can play such a massive factor, one stop v two stop. In terms of our car, though, let's just focus on something we can talk about properly, which is our car, and it's feeling really good. I remember last season when we began this partnership with Porsche, I alluded to, you know, we changed engine supply, and I was noting that I was still getting used to the oversteer nature on the rear end. It was a lot more lively than I was used to with the Mercedes or Honda engine, let's say, earlier on in our career mode series. But obviously now we've stuck with the same engine, so we're used to it. And like was the case last year, I feel like I have a car where if I can extract the maximum of myself, we should be aiming for the top front two rows, depending on how everyone else does and how, you know, focused the AI are around us, of course. You know, it could be a different story of everyone else being so focused they beat me, but, you know, you're hoping not the case. But as it stands then, things are looking good, because as I've been talking about our car, we are 1-2 at the moment. Russell, though, is on provisional pole position. I'm in second place, so first blood goes to him, but we both got a second run. But things are looking very decent for our team as a constructor. Guan Yu Zhou's up there. Leclerc performing very well in the AlphaTauri. Good to see, to be honest, because it was a bit of a shame to see him drop off how he did in our team last season, so good to see he's there. But look at the evolution of times now, as we're down to P6, halfway through our lap then. We lose a bit of the time we gain in Sector 1, but we gain it back on the exit there, about 3/10 up now on our first flying lap. We're down to P8 then, so we've got it all to do. Where is Russell, who is on pole? Across the line, nearly half a second gain, and that's good enough to get us on the second row ahead of Russell. So the first blood goes to us then in the first proper qualifying at the checkered flag. The second run, we're able to beat Russell, but no one can beat this Scuderia in red and black. Sainz and Ocon, a 1-2 front row lockout for Ferrari. I'm not going to get too excited though, because you know, I know how this went last season. So let's see how their race pace is. I'm going to keep an eye on, well, Verstappen, for one, doing very well in a Mercedes, up in P5 again. Bottas was knocked out, so again, Verstappen dragging that silver arrow to places where it maybe shouldn't be. I don't know. We're going to have to see how that evolves, because clearly they mean business by signing Bottas back to the team. Giovinazzi's done very well. Leclerc to split both Red Bulls as well from where AlphaTauri were last season. And Guan Yu Zhou and Norris, they'll be disappointed. Don't know what went on with Norris there. Clearly just fluffed his lap in P10. So the reigning Constructors champions on the back foot with both their drivers down the order. So things are certainly a little bit different. But one thing that is not is how chaotic Bahrain always is as a season opener. So let's go to the grid and find out.
Months of rumour and speculation all come to an end today as we return to racing for the opening event of what promises to be an enthralling season. Welcome along then to round one of this year's Formula One World Championship. Formula One returns to the desert today on this exceptional 3.36 mile circuit. 15 corners provide plenty of overtaking opportunities. It could be a strategic race, this one, with Sakir notorious for eating up the rear tyres. Watch out for drivers managing their rubber at some points during the Grand Prix. A new season then, a clean slate where anything could happen. Anthony Davidson is with me today as we get another year of Formula One underway.
We're into those tense few minutes before the first race then. Everyone's a little bit nervous about reliability. They haven't been running in the hot, turbulent wake of other cars in practice, and they've not been pushing at 100% for long durations. Let's hope no one has to deal with any nasty surprises.
Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks for today's race. An immense lap from Carlos Sainz yesterday puts him in pole position, and it's Esteban Ocon in P2. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have the owner driver, Russell, Max Verstappen and Giovinazzi, Leclerc, Mick Schumacher, Joe and Lando Norris, Tsunoda, Bottas, Pierre Gasly and Drugovich, Stroll, Lundgaard, Callum Eilert and Lewis Hamilton, Aitken, Matsushita, Armstrong and Daniel Ticktum. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track.
So a pretty good first outing then in our new car for Season 6. We've beaten Russell in qualifying. That's good as well, but we've got to finish the job now in the race and also see what we're going to do about the Ferraris. Will they be quick in this first stint? Will they drop off like they did so many times last season? Who knows? You know, maybe they'll prove us wrong this time. And also, like I said, at Bahrain, this strategy is going to be, you know, is always a bit of a pain because everyone in the top 10, you have to do a two-stop because the tyre wear just won't allow the one stop from the soft compounder tyre. That tyre wears out so quickly, and everyone outside the top 10, they actually have a very good chance, if they've got enough race pace, to get in the mix, at least be a bit of a mobile chicane and hurdle for those of us trying to come through on that extra stop at the end of the Grand Prix on fresh mediums or even fresh softs, maybe, for some people going uber aggressive. And remember, our very teammate Russell was able to win this Grand Prix last season from outside the top 10, so anything's possible here at Bahrain, and it's not going to be a full indication of what the full season pecking order is like, but it's certainly going to be very juicy and exciting to watch. A brand new season's upon us, massive changes for the drivers and the teams. We go to 5 red lights to the Bahrain Grand Prix, and we're underway for Season 6 of My Team Career Mode. It's a slow start for the pole sitter, and for us, we've been swarmed by Russell, and also Leclerc on the inside, Giovinazzi with the big dive on the inside there for the Red Bull, across the curb, Ocon leads the way in his new team in Ferrari. We've had a poor start down to P5, but can we try and re-overtake our old teammate Leclerc in the AlphaTauri now? On the outside, he goes for the dive on Russell and nearly makes some contact with him on the front left, but he actually kind of compromised his own racing line, tightens up the right-hander, and we're able to nip through round the outside and follow Russell's line up into P4. So it's all stations then again, 2x2, Ferrari and our team, but it's swapsies for both of us as Ocon is ahead of Sainz and Russell is ahead of us. So that wasn't the most ideal start and getaway. A lot of wheel spin, you must say, in third and fourth gear. And Russell got a beautiful launch, so much as much as he did last season. He was always known for that last season. There were so many times where he had such good acceleration as well in that McLaren of his. Maybe it was just actually him as a driver rather than the McLaren car this entire time. And he's just got some sort of mental right foot that's able to plant the power as early as you dare. And so he is now the one maybe looking to pressurize the two Ferraris. But right now, you know, no calamities so far, knock on wood, for the Scuderia. Let's see how it goes for them. Meanwhile, behind, you've got Leclerc doing very well in his new AlphaTauri digs. Giovinazzi P6 in the Red Bull Porsche. Verstappen, Lando Norris, Mick Schumacher and Guan Yu Zhou round out the top 10. Then you've got Tsunoda and you've got Stroll versus Gasly. Gasly, poor qualifying from him. He's going to want to show that he can be right up there with his new teammate Leclerc. And you know what? I have high hopes for AlphaTauri. You know, they did so well in Season 4, had a bit of a dip in form in Season 5, but I think with Leclerc rejuvenating their kind of morale, I think if Gasly can get himself together again, they can maybe be a force to be reckoned with, because they were still very fast in many places last season. And now, meanwhile, behind, even further back down, you got the two new boys in Lotus Renault, black and gold, fighting each other. Drugovich v Lundgaard. That's a very tasty fight, actually. The two young guns, very inexperienced in Formula 1 in this career mode. mode of ours, but they're the ones leading the charge for Lotus Renault with that new era for the team from Enstone. And we saw Bottas also making a move earlier on that lap number 2, so he's trying to make his way up the order, up into P14 there. And I do think, this is maybe just teething issues for Mercedes, and eventually we'll see Bottas a bit closer to Verstappen. I do think that Mercedes have made the right call finally dropping Hamilton, because he's done so poorly in this career mode, and it's going to be cool to see if Mercedes can actually try and climb back up the order like we've seen with Red Bull, of course. Giovinazzi, what a great season he had in his debut last season for Red Bull, and if they can sort out their reliability, Giovinazzi should be one of the contenders, you would say, based off last season. But here we go, some good action into turn 1. The two former teammates, Gasly v Tsunoda, wheel to wheel, Gasly with the overtake, and Bottas as well into turn 1, up into P13. So some tasty moves happening down the order, but at the moment you can see on the top left on the ladder, all is the same at the top. Ocon from Sainz, Russell and myself finding it difficult to make any sort of inroads right now. It's all about applying pressure and kind of almost who's going to blink first in terms of, who's going to start feeling tyre wear more, who's going to make that first early pit stop onto the medium tyres, as we have a pretty big lock up into that left-hander. Leclerc at the moment is the one with the fast lap of the Grand Prix, so he's setting some decent pace to try and close back up. He's within 8/10 of ourselves, but we're having a look at Russell, and we're getting some good momentum through his right-hander. We're going to go for it. Bit of ERS usage, and we're so close to banging tyres, and it almost happened immediately. Myself v Russell, already a titanic battle in the making, jockeying for position. We get through down the inside up into P3, but that was so close to us just slamming into the side of him there as we just went for it. It was a very audacious move because I just saw he had a bit of lack of momentum up the hill. I just thought, let's just go for it, because otherwise we're going to get stuck behind him for too long. And now we're having a look at Carlos Sainz. So we were right to go for that over-aggressive move on Russell, because we actually have a bit better pace than he does right now on the soft tyre, and we can go and maybe pressurise the Ferraris. But Sainz may have his own ideas towards turn 1. He goes for the move on the left. Can we go on the inside to make it 3 wide? Not quite. We think better of it. The two Ferraris make a bit of contact there. This is the changing of the guard, but the old guard stands firm, and Sainz is back up into first place. We're going to use him as a bit of a tow to get up into P2. Russell with a big dive. Look at that. Great aerial shot, as it was 3 abreast for a second there, and Russell trying to force his way through into P3. Ocon struggling now in the Ferrari. Russell on the outside. Can he finish off the move? Don't think so. I think Ocon is going to remain in P3, but my word, as soon as we overtook Russell earlier in the Grand Prix, everything just kicked off now, and that's really kicked ourselves into a higher gear as we go chasing after Sainz. He's a sitting duck without DRS. We pull to the right. He's going to squeeze us, and he's going to really put up a good fight into turn 1 there, as our sidewall profiles are side by side on the front tyres, but we do a beautiful switch back right to left, cut across to defend the inside line, back to the racing line for our one racing move, get to the apex, and we're up into the lead of the Bahrain Grand Prix, and carrying that momentum, that kind of, willingness to keep going on after we overtook Russell. And we're then going to use this to our advantage to control this race. We're going to pull the trigger first, and we're going to come in now for our first pit stop. Sainz will continue on, as well as Russell, but Ocon's in, Leclerc as well, and maybe Giovinazzi, I think. Yeah, Giovinazzi is in. Schumacher and Gasly stay out, so a bit of a difference there between the different teammates, of course, but obviously with us being first on the road, we get the first call, so we're in for a set of medium tyres, and hopefully we're able to remain in the lead of the Grand Prix. I don't think they're going to get an overcut on us, sorry, because the tyre wear is that dramatic that, from this lap onwards, they really fall off very quickly on the soft compounder tyre, so it would be pretty much a miracle if somehow they're able to overcut us. But it's going to be tight, because Russell and Sainz, they both have they're fighting each other, and Russell has DRS off Sainz, so they may just push each other to keep on going. You can see Russell's closed up to Sainz now. He wasn't this close to Sainz beforehand, so let's see where they actually end up. And it looks like they've not actually been fighting that much, because they've not lost too much time to everyone else, as Schumacher now is in as well. Gasly will continue on, though, on the medium tyre with Tsunoda and Bottas. So Gasly, Tsunoda and Bottas, they were all outside the top 10. They're going to be on that one-stop medium to hard, so if they have the race pace, they could actually be in this fight with the Ferraris and myself and Russell. Speaking of, let's see, Ocon is coming at us. We're a sitting duck. We've got no DRS to defend, and Ocon's overtaking us. And there are the two other cars, Sainz and Russell. Sainz and Ocon side by side. There's almost contact between the two Ferraris. Massive lock-up for Ocon there. That was so sketchy as we came out literally side by side. So those two actually did such a good job going the extra lap because they were so close to us. And Sainz now, he's on the softs and he looks dangerous as he dive bombs us from literally so far back and gets us and pulls our pants down. Sainz, though, he's on the soft, so he should be looking to be quicker. But I'm worried now. I've got damage on my front wing. Russell overtakes us because we're a bit flustered now, and we lose the momentum through that left-hander, of course, being pushed wide by Carlos Sainz. And I'm so kind of, just flummoxed by what just happened that I pressed the wrong button on my radio call. So I'm desperately trying to ask my engineer the vehicle condition. Thankfully, he says there is no damage, or he doesn't mention it. So, because we did have a tiny, tiny little love tap on Sainz's rear end as he overtook us. So I think we're good for now, but we need to recompose ourselves and stop being too panicked, and get back in the zone, as it were. And meanwhile, whilst we're watching that battle, there was Verstappen behind having a great overtake on Leclerc around the outside. Mercedes v AlphaTauri, of course, these two have made their pit stop onto medium tyres, and this was literally just actually behind all the action with us, and that was a great overtake, so we had to highlight that because showing Verstappen has still got his mojo from last season. He refused to even make any sort of negotiations with us and clearly believes in the project Mercedes, so let's see how it goes for him as we go on through this season. Back to our POV, though, on the very next racing lap, number 10, and we're applying the pressure directly back onto Russell. We're going to try the inside line, get the side entry to the next right-hander on the outside, the long way around, nearly off circuit, taking a lot of the curb. Russell, though, jockeying for position, and it's almost like we never left season 5. This was the same sort of battling we had at Abu Dhabi, and it's absolutely amazing, and this is what you want to see between teammates, but we need to try not to focus on Ferrari up the road because Ocon is getting away in P10. We're now gaining on Sainz with DRS. Russell, though, is following us through. The Aston Martin's in the way awkwardly. We pull to the inside to give the maximum amount of racing room. Sainz, though, still there, and also Russell. Where the hell has he come from? It was actually 3 wide into turn 1. Didn't even realise that. Russell really not giving up this fight. We're going to squeeze him to the inside and then try and sell this round the outside, side by side. He's actually got the advantage. We're going to try and get on the power as early as we can, but with the rear end squirms, we've lost traction and we've lost the position, and Giovinazzi now tries to overtake us. What is going on here? Where the hell did Giovinazzi come from? He's overtaken Ilott, immediately goes for a dive bomb on us. These AI, they're being so aggressive and punchy here. Immediately from round number 1. If this sets the tail for the rest of the season, I don't think my heart's going to keep up with this as we now look to make an overtake on Russell for the 3rd time now. Aitken's in the way as well. The BMW Sauber on the 1 stop. He's 4th position. We're 3 abreast into turn 1. And this, oh my God, the BMW nearly hit Carlos Sainz, and we're looking for a switch back, left to right, right to left, and that is going to do it. We practically dance around the outside of those two, and that's how it's done. We're up into P10. Let's get our head down and chase after Carlos Sainz as he gets held up by the other BMW as there's a huge incident behind us, and I think that was Giovinazzi caught up. The full course safety cars out for the very first time in season 6, as I think that was unfortunately the Red Bull getting caught up in a spin with the BMW Sauber, I think it was, and maybe potentially someone else. If that's more bad luck for Giovinazzi at the start of the season for Red Bull, that's going to be so gutting because they just need a good run, and Red Bull could be right back at the top end of Formula 1 with Gio, especially the way he was driving at the end of last season. But here's now the onboard then from Jack Aitken in the BMW, gets absolutely done by ourselves with the switchback. He's fighting Russell then, and then what happens is onboard with Giovinazzi then, and then there's the BMW gets tagged by Russell. Just a racing incident though, but that's so unlucky. Giovinazzi and Verstappen getting held up by that side sideways BMW. They're both not got damage, so that's at least one thing. And now we're running on board with Lando Norris overtaking the Aston Martin, and it's going to be a massive lunge for the Brit. Oh my god, what an overtake by Lando on Leclerc there in the AlphaTauri in the new look, retro throwback, chrome red Vodafone McLaren. This is the spin there, and Verstappen is going to get held, and these two, well, these three, oh, okay. There was a bit of contact with the Aston Martin, unfortunately, but you saw there how lucky Lando and Leclerc got, and also Schumacher and Guan Yu Zhou waltzed around the outside of Giovinazzi, who's now here, down 4 positions and a few seconds now. No damage, but still, you got to say, that's so unlucky for the Italian there, who would have been right in the mix, you know, with myself and Russell, I think, because he was hanging on to the back of us for sure. So that is so unfortunate. But the safety car is now out, so that's gonna allow these guys to make a free pit stop. So they're going to be in a very good position. Gasly, Bottas, and Oda, even Stroll, Hamilton, Drogovic, Lundgaard, Mashizita, everyone on the one stop. They're going to be so good, apart from Gasly, who I think is slowing, and he's going to park up. There's more drama at Bahrain in the opening round. His car has failed him. The AlphaTauri of Gasly, he is out of the Grand Prix. He was leading the race, and he retires from the lead. Tsunoda and all the, below on the mediums, yet to pit in this Grand Prix. They come in, Sainz comes in, but myself and Russell do not, along with a few others. All of a sudden now, it's going to be a 1-2 for myself and Russell. I think you've got Lando and Leclerc up into P3 and 4 respectively in the McLaren and the AlphaTauri. Schumacher, Guan Yu Zhou as well. And then Bottas is going to slot into P7 on the hard compound. He is going to go to the end. Everyone ahead of him will make one more pit stop. Sainz is one of the pack that was doing a 2-stop, but he's coming early. The Ferrari's suffering a lot of tyre wear. We saw Ocon, he's nowhere in this race now because he actually pit just before that safety car came out, so he got screwed over. So the Ferrari, poor luck, strikes again for Ocon. Maybe not so much for Sainz, but we're going to have to see how he goes on those tyres in terms of the tyre wear. The reason why I think myself and Russell and 5 others have not come in under the safety car, I think we've got still a good, I would say, 5 laps to go on these mediums until we would come in for that second pit stop. So personally for me, I don't think it's time yet to come in. I think the tyre will be too much at the end, and I'd rather be punchier in the last few laps. That's the thinking there, and the thinking of, my fellow AI drivers, the other 6 behind me. Now we're looking at the safety car restart. We control the speed, so we're taking our time, trying to be a bit cheeky here and waiting to the last moment. Then we accelerate and try and catch Russell napping a little bit. It's kind of half worked, but Russell gets a really good run. It's such a long run to turn when we go back to the racing line. That's a mistake. We open up the door, we lock up, and Russell absolutely sends one to the inside there, and he steals the lead away from us. Russell with a smash and grab, but can we come back at him in sector 2, keeping the pressure on him into the next corner, braking early, going for the tighter apex. Russell goes deep, and we've got the undercut line on him on the inside. We're oh so close on the front left. We nearly banged tyres, and we're side by side once again in this race, and this time it's battling for the race lead. We're on the inside, lock up from us, but we're going to get to the apex, we're going to get the lead, and we are once again in control of this Grand Prix. But for how much longer? Russell having another look on the outside, but now we've got to get our head down and push as hard as we can to try and break this gap. We're going to try and break the slipstream as well, get back to the racing line, and then try and shoot off into the distance. That's easier said than done, but to be fair to us, look at this, just through that sector alone, we've actually pushed away by a few tenths there, and Leclerc is actually pressurising Russell more than Russell is pressurising us. So hopefully we just keep up this pace and pull away a little bit. We're going to try and do our own race now. It's all about this last bit of this stint, trying to pull the biggest gap we can, because then when we make our pit stop, we'll have an easier job coming through the field on the new set of medium tyres. Bottas in P7 there, he will be in the race lead eventually. Tsunoda comes in though, so he's got a bit of damage, I think, the Japanese driver in the McLaren, because that's a very early pit stop for him. So all round, not the most fairy tale start for the Japanese driver in the new McLaren car. It's a set of soft tyres and a front wing chain, so indeed he did get damage. Meanwhile, back at the front, myself from Russell, Leclerc, the gap is still though about 4 tenths, so we need to do better to start pulling away. Even if it's me and Russell as a pair pulling away, we both need to get away and try and bridge and get that gap as big as we can. Meanwhile, back down the order, we've got Hamilton in P9 P9 doing very well, I must say. Sainz in P10, he's the interesting one. He's one of us on the 2-stop, but he's pit early onto a set of hard tyres. So he's gone for a 2-stop, but he's gone for a very conservative 2-stop, which I just don't think is going to be the way to go. And meanwhile, Ocon, I think he's on a 3-stop on a set of soft tyres. So Ferrari, from a 1-2 to not looking too great, as the two BMWs are having an absolute ding-dong battle for P15 and 16. Verstappen getting in the mix. Remember, he got held up and I think got damage from that incident that caused the safety car. It's 3 wide, Mercedes v BMW. You love to see it. What a unique and different battle this is. But Verstappen really will be annoyed, obviously, because he shouldn't be there. But, you know, it was just so unfortunate that he got held up by those very BMW cars, one of them spinning behind ahead of Giovinazzi, of course. Meanwhile now, lap 18 as we go on through this stint then. This is 3 laps later. Leclerc's in, Norris as well. Schumacher continues on. Guan Yu Zhou is in. So Bottas will elevate up into P4. So you can see that Bottas will actually be in the lead of this Grand Prix once all of us come in. And Hamilton's altered there as well. He's on the softs though, so I don't know what kind of strategy he's pulling. But right now, Hamilton is as high as he's ever been in the new Williams car here in Season 6. Quite peculiar indeed. And if you look on the top left though, even though myself and Russell are equalised, about still 6/10 between us, we've both pulled away from Schumacher. And what was Leclerc? We were pulling away from him. The gap had grown to about 1.6. So even though I wasn't getting rid of Russell anytime soon, we were both pulling away from the pack, showing the car had some good race pace there, even with the worn out mediums. Russell comes in. We go on for one more racing lap. And right now we're watching Hamilton v Bottas. And Hamilton just overtaken Bottas in the Williams. What am I watching here? I mean, I know Hamilton's on the soft tyres, but what a absolute spectacle that is. That is so good to see. I don't think we'll be seeing Hamilton, you know, really return to his best, you know, like in real life, but that's still, you know, amazing to see. We never saw anything like that in previous seasons there. So go on Hamilton up into P2, but we continue on for one more racing lap because we've got some okay pace, and I truly think now that we've stretched this medium tyre stint so long, you know, we're going to come out around where Russell is, but we've got so many quote-unquote slower cars. You've got Ilott, Tickton, Aiken, Matsushita, Stroll, Drogovic, Lundgaard, all on hard tyres, on slower cars, quote-unquote slower drivers. The only, you know, worry will be Sainz and Bottas, but I truly think, especially Sainz, his tyres will fall away. The Ferrari is so bad on its tyres. Bottas, though, is the only question mark. He actually has a very good outside chance here of even going for the win in this race out of nowhere. We've not really, it's come out of nothing really. We've not really seen too much of Bottas this race, but he's just there in the right position. But we've done an absolute job and a half to stretch this medium tyre stint. You can see on the bottom right the heads-up display indicating the tyres were in the puncture region now, but it means crucially in this last stint I can now basically do qualifying laps of the mediums and literally not have to worry about the tyre wear whatsoever. And we know right down to the last sector of the last lap that tyre is going to give us performance rather than worrying it's starting to wear out a little bit at the end of the life. So now is the time to get our head down. We stay ahead of Russell, so we've done well to even stay ahead of him, going one more lap longer on that middle stint, and now we just go like the absolute clappers to try and catch back up and get at least a podium, but go for that race win that I still think we can actually genuinely get if Bottas starts to struggle. Meanwhile, just a bit behind us, Schumacher v Norris v Guan Yu Zhou. It's going to be 3 wide. The Williams down the inside. Norris the long way round. It's a great overtake, but an amazing bit of racing there between the 3 of them. 3 different teams, Red Bull, Williams and McLaren, but the McLaren wins out then. Norris with a great overtake as we send it through on Callum Ilott, and we're up into P9 and we're rapidly catching up to the BMWs. Ahead of them, you've got the 2 Lotus Renaults. Very lofty position for them right now. Drogovic and Lundgaard in P4 and 5, and also Stroll. So you've got so many of these, you know, lower down teams, I guess you could say, from the previous seasons. Right now, with this one-stop situation of Bahrain, they've got a great opportunity of maybe getting some points. We're going to spoil the party, hopefully, a bit for them, as well as Russell, and demote everyone down 2 places. But they'll still be on for some points there. Hamilton comes in, though, like I said, so Bottas will lead this Grand Prix from Carlos Carlos Sainz 3 seconds back, but surely those tyres start to wear out, and I don't have to worry about that whatsoever. We are pushing like an absolute stabbed rat. DRS open, ERS deployed, getting past one BMW, trying to get past two BMWs into turn one. No, oh, we get hit! We got hit by one of the BMWs. We're sent wide a little bit, and so we're still fighting Matsushita on the exit then. Going to switch it from left to right. No DRS though, but we're going to try and send it through on the inside, but now the engine's gone popped! Oh no! In the first race of the season, you can't believe it! The engine's gone up in smokes! That is it! With 7 laps to go! Are you kidding me? The engine has failed us! And we get a DNF to start the season! Mechanical failure, nothing you can do about it. When the game decides you're going to get it this race, you're getting it this race. And that is it. It is not the way I wanted this season to begin. We were going to be on. I know it. I just know we were going to be on to at least get up to where Sainz was. And if not that, even going for the race win, I just know it. We had the pace. I felt so good in the car. So this is where we're going to leave off then. I can't watch the rest of the race, unfortunately. So we're going to have to see how the simulation pans it out, but we've got Bottas and Sainz on worn hards leading this race, 1 and 2 there respectively in their 2 teams. You've got a load of slower cars also on the hard of the 2 Lotus Renaults, the 2 BMWs, the Aston Martin, Russell, Leclerc, Norris, Schumacher, Guan Yu Zhou, Giovinazzi all looking to come through on faster tyres. Let's see how it ends.
That's it for another spectacular Grand Prix here in Bahrain, and a real champion's drive to take the win. Tell me, Ant, how do you think they were able to deliver such an incredible result today?
I think the key here was just the quality of the racecraft, you know? I mean, how many overtakes did they make overall? I'm sure we have a stat person keeping score somewhere, and it was fantastic to watch, wasn't it? This is a strategic sport at the end of the day, but it's always really gratifying to see close-fought battles on track. It's what all the fans are after.
After an excellent performance at the Grand Prix, I'm sure there'll be plenty of celebrations tonight amongst the Mercedes team. And they certainly deserve it.
So what a story it is. Valtteri Bottas, on his return to the Silver Arrows, wins the Bahrain Grand Prix. Verstappen may have had a poor race, but you can clearly see why maybe he refused to negotiate with us. He believes in the Silver Arrows, and they are back on the top step of the podium. They've won 3 races in the last 4 in this career mode, because remember, they won 2 of the last races in Season 5 with Verstappen, so they are actually looking good. I know they got a bit lucky with Bottas on this strategy, but you got to say, if Verstappen didn't get held up with that spin, he would have been right there cutting through the field as well. Sainz did finish in P2, but look at where Russell was. Russell finished 2 tenths behind Sainz. And Sainz was only 2.4 seconds behind Bottas. So that's so annoying. You just know that means I would have been right there fighting Bottas for the race win on the last lap of the Grand Prix. That is so annoying. We would have been right there. And so after doing so well in qualifying, doing well in the race, having some amazing racing with Russell, we lose to him in the first race. We're already 15 points down from the man I kept losing points to last season. It's happening again as we're third in the constructors. McLaren, the reigning champions, with such a poor start. I mean, to be fair, it doesn't mean too much as the first race. Red Bull are down the order and Williams as well. Aston Martin and Lotus Renault. What a performance from those 2 lower teams in Formula 1 here in this first outing. What a topsy-turvy race. Bahrain always delivers as a season opener, but I am just, yeah, it's hard to feel still good about it because we DNF'd out of it and we were on for a race win, but that is Formula 1. It is a very cruel sport. Let's hope we don't have to, feel that feeling again soon this season. Guys, if you have enjoyed this opening round, hit that like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. One thing is for certain, this is going to be just as intense as it was in Season 5, I think, and we're still yet to see who the true titans of this season are going to be after the first round. But if you did enjoy it, as I said, hit the like button. If you're new around here, do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.